Welcome to episode 8. Bestie, let me ask you a question. How do you get people, strangers on the internet, to know you, like you, and trust you enough that they become such loyal fans that they pay to subscribe to your content? Whether that's a Patreon, a YouTube membership, a Substack membership, a school membership, a Buy Me a Coffee subscription, and get them to want to continue to remain subscribed, even during hard economic times. No, having a paid subscription is not a mandatory requirement to have in your revenue mix as an author, because I'm your business book bestie, and I typically talk about writing books. However, as you'll hear me say in the official intro in just a little bit, this podcast discusses the intersections of writing books, building a brand, and cultural touchpoints that relate. And this episode is a nice blend of all three, because some authors might want to cultivate a paid subscription or community of some sort as a part of their revenue stack. I know I intend to have a paid community at some point in the near future. Even if you're not looking to specifically create a paid community, it is worth exploring this topic and understanding the psychology behind getting complete strangers to even subscribe and regularly open a free email newsletter. Because as an author, that is life. We need to have a direct line of communication to our audience so that we can earn the opportunity to sell them our next book or offer them the chance to enroll in a program that we're running or ask them to sign up for a service that we have or sell them tickets to an event that we're hosting or going to be at or something. Whenever the time comes, we're going to need to be able to reach out to our audience directly so that they can support what we're doing. So I'm exploring that psychology in this episode. What makes people subscribe, pay, and keep paying, even in the midst of hard times? So if you would like to go down this rabbit hole with me to uncover the secrets of cultivating an audience of dedicated subscribers, then keep listening. Welcome to Your Business Book Bestie, a solo podcast experience hosted by me, Denise Renee. I help Gen X and millennial professionals write books that make their career, business, or thought leadership brand visible. This podcast is an invitation into the running conversation in my head about writing books, building a brand, and cultural touchpoints that relate. So grab a cozy beverage and let's chat. Part 1. Tone deaf brands, celebrities, and influencers are uncancelable, even in hard times. During the first week of November 2025, Mariah Carey and makeup superstore Sephora released a Christmas themed commercial that many commenters online called tone deaf. Here's the quick synopsis if you haven't seen the ad or heard about the ensuing drama. In the video, Mariah comes onto screen ready to burst into her famous Christmas song, but lets out a shrilling scream instead because she finds her makeup and other items from her vanity stolen. An elf sneaking towards the door is caught. He declares that Christmas is canceled because the elves are striking. They feel overworked, underpaid, and totally unappreciated. The elf confesses that he stole the items from her vanity just so he can pawn them in order to afford therapy. Never addressing his concerns, Mariah proceeds to sing the opening of her song, magically transforms into a Santa suit, and the elf gets transformed into a snowman who will presumably still have to go to work. Meanwhile, Mariah carries on with collecting and distributing gifts from Sephora, and Christmas proceeds as usual. The backlash was swift and brutal. Many customers vowed to never shop at Sephora again. Just a few days later, Beyonce quietly dropped her holiday merchandise collection to the fans on her text distribution list. But that didn't stop the Beehive from exposing the group chat on TikTok and letting their mixed feelings be known. Some people had no problems outwardly complaining that Queen Bee was just another rich and out of touch celebrity who only was there with her hand out to her fans. Meanwhile, many fans in her base are struggling financially. And indeed, a lot of Queen Bee fans complained that they didn't have the money to spend on her drop because they were still recovering from her tour this summer, many of whom supported her by going into debt. Yes, it was their one trip or outlet for the year, but it's been tough. And yet, some of those fans still shared their plans to rob Peter in order to pay Beyonce. And a good enough amount of people did just that because some of her items sold out within hours. 2025 has definitely been a hard financial year. The last time I can remember things feeling this bad was during the 2008 and 2009 housing market crash. Inflation has been soaring. Grocery prices keep going up by the week, it feels like. 300,000 Black women lost their jobs. Tech giants have been on a layoff spree, and many companies have slowed down their hiring in the name of AI. And to add insult to injury, the government shut down for 43 days from October 1st through November 12th because it couldn't agree on a budget. Meanwhile, the government magically found $20 billion to help out Argentina while its own citizens are struggling? Yeah, make that make sense for me, okay? As of the day that I'm recording this episode, the government has been reopened for about a week. In my opinion, it was so sad and shameful to see furloughed military service people and government workers standing on long lines at food banks around the country just trying to feed their families and not even knowing if they'd be paid for their forced time off. It wasn't their fault, but they sure took the brunt. With all this uncertainty and hardship this year, people have been saying what the elf said in the Sephora commercial: the holidays are canceled. In fact, over the last few weeks, there's been a growing movement across social media to boycott non essential spending during the fourth quarter this year, called Blackout the System or Big Beautiful Boycott. Just search the hashtags. People are tired, people are struggling. And yet, on November 6th, rapid consumerism was still on full display. Starbucks, who, by the way, I thought we were boycotting them because of their stance in the Israel Hamas conflict and for their unfair labor practices. Well, they still had a run of sales because that was the day that they strategically launched a holiday item to false scarcity. And many locations had people lining up from the night before in the cold just to get their hands on a $29 glass mug that only holds 20 ounces. That's in the shape of a bear with a green hat and a straw. Now, granted, yeah, the bear is cute and it has the Starbucks logo. But for real people? Listen, Starbucks knew exactly what they were doing by only stocking the stores with two or three bear cups each. So when all those people flooded the stores and the items were even gone, in some cases before the first person could even get in the door because Starbucks employees entered the stores early and bought them. When people couldn't get the bears, well, they were already standing in line, so they went ahead and bought the other holiday merch and some food and coffee. It just seems like some brands, influencers, and celebrities are simply uncancelable, even during uncertain economic times. I need to know why. Part two. Even on a tight budget, I still support two creators. Now, bestie, trust and believe you will never catch me camping out overnight outside of a store for no item. You hear me? Least of all, Starbucks or a coffee themed item. Largely because I'm probably the only person on the planet who hates the taste of coffee. I'm more of a hot chocolate kind of girl. That being said, I must admit that I can relate a little bit to this recent display of consumerism mixed with tribalism. Because Even I am making a seemingly irresponsible display of financial support for two creators that I really love and appreciate. And believe you and me, I have certainly felt the pinch in 2025. At the beginning of the year, I had two jobs. Since May, I've only had one. You do the math. Thankfully, I've had a few small manuscript editing projects come my way towards the end of the year to help offset things. And I am grateful for them. But by no means do I feel financially comfortable. There are so many things that are in flux. So, of course, I did the work of cutting some expenses and extraneous subscriptions. And the interesting thing to me is that there are two creators that I'm subscribed to, and not once did I consider canceling them. And I had to stop, pause, and ask myself, why not? What keeps me supporting two individuals that don't even know my name? I've got all this parasocial love and affection for them, and they don't know who I am. Well, actually, one person I did get a chance to meet, but she probably don't remember that. Now, as I ask myself that question, I wonder, well, is it because the amounts of my support is small? Because one is a Patreon subscription for $8.71 a month, and the other is a YouTube channel subscription at $5.99 a month. Now, to be honest, that $14.70 can buy me a family pack of chicken quarters, which is 9 servings. And if you split that drumstick and thigh up, baby, that's 18 pieces of chicken. Okay. I can also get a large head of cabbage, 2 boxes of cornbread mix, and a half dozen eggs. Baby, that will have me and my son eating good for a week, if not more. Now, yes, it'll be boring eating the same meal every day, but your girl knows how to season. So it's going to taste good. So while the amount of my support is small, it is impactful for me. And I know it's impactful to the creators I give it to. So why do I continue to support them when I clearly can reallocate those funds to my food budget? After some deep reflection, I realize that I get something back from these two creators that's worth more to me than the money I give to them. Part 3: The intangible value creators generate. I don't mind sharing the two creators that I support because it'll make it a little bit easier for me to talk about what I get out of supporting them. I am a proud stage crew member of Kevin Fredericks, aka Kev on Stage Patreon, and I am a sister on Jessie Woo's YouTube channel. And if you know, baby, you know. Now, they are two different types of creators. Kevin is a comedian who's been steadily growing his audience by posting at least one video a day for well over 10 years. Well over 10 years. Jesse is a multi-talented creative who's been featured on a variety of TV shows from Love and Hip Hop Miami to Wildin' Out to Dish Nation and hosting red carpets for BET. She's also a singer, and she's mostly known these days for her cultural commentary and for being a, quote, loud voice on the internet in defense of Black women all over the world. And if you are a real sister, then you know I'm being real sarcastic when I say, quote, a loud voice on the internet. Because, baby, if you know, you know. Now, I can fangirl and gush probably for an hour telling you everything I love about these two creators, but I'll spare you. Just know that the parasocial relationship is real. But ultimately, what it boils down to is that I support them because I can see myself in them, or at least I can see a future version of myself in them. Their growth online has been slow but steady. They didn't just pop out of nowhere. Their trajectory is trackable. They didn't take any shortcuts and they didn't get any handouts. They didn't grow because of a freak viral video. Actually, their occasional breakout pieces of content went viral because they developed a solid fan base and because they've been consistent. They've both worked very hard for what they have, and they've made a living doing what they love. And that's something I've been wanting to do almost my whole life. Are there other creators that I appreciate who have similar trajectories? Yes, yes, there are. But I haven't supported them financially the way I've supported these two. I first started seeing Kevin's old Playmaker videos on YouTube around 2014, 2015, but then I started really following him consistently since about 2017. Jessie's videos started popping up on my YouTube feed sometime in 2020, and then she was taking all these solo trips, and I was really intrigued because a dream of mine is to be a travel blogger. And I just hooked in and locked in. At some point in time, for both of these creators, they advertised their memberships with a promise of more exclusive content, and I wanted in. But I've stayed because of how much more of them I've gained access to and how much more of their journeys I've learned about. They both invariably wind up dropping gems about the lessons they've learned along the way, building a business on social media around their personas and around their talents. Years ago, I remember Jessie saying that she prayed her own version of the Sierra prayer. She prayed that God would help her earn a living from her talents. That was about 7 or 8 years ago when she was living in New York. About a week later, after she prayed that prayer, she lost her job and she was like, wait, God, hold up. I didn't mean for you to do it this way. But here's something I know about God. I am real careful about the prayers that I pray because I don't know how they're going to get answered. And 9 times out of 10, they never get answered by walking the most comfortable path. Both Kev and Jesse represent what's possible for me in a way that has been hard for me to imagine. As a Gen Xer, it's not lost on me that they are both millennials and grew up in a slightly different time. Now, Kevin is only 10 years younger than me. And as an older millennial, he kind of has this background where he was almost kind of raised like a Gen Xer a little bit. And Jessie is a younger millennial. She's 18 years younger than me. The interesting thing is that we all grew up in church. And so there are aspects of our upbringing that we all share. Now, as a Gen Xer, I was part of that last generation that was really sold that bill of goods to go to school, get a good job, work hard, and you'll be okay. You'll get a pension. And as a creative person, I was steered towards getting a stable teaching job because at least I wouldn't be a starving writer or musician. And it's been so hard getting that training out of my head because I've had times of my life where I did not have a traditional job and I was out here winging it on a wish and a prayer, trying to live off of my talent. And whenever things got hard for me on the entrepreneurial front, baby, best to believe I turned around and got me a job because I felt like I had to be responsible. Heck, I told you I had two jobs at the beginning of 2025. Now, having a job is not a bad thing, but it is definitely hard for my creativity to thrive. But Kevin made it work. He worked his day job for years and worked on his content on the side. He learned how to do stand up like it was his very serious side hustle. And years later, it's paid off. He just released a book called Successful Failure at the end of the summer. I already knew many of the stories that he shared in it, but I loved hearing them again because I got my copy. His examples feed my belief of what's possible for me. I can do this. Yes, even as I'm just weeks away from my 52nd birthday as I record this. Jessie often shares bits and pieces of what's going on with her ventures in her members only videos, and I'm able to extrapolate so much from that. I feel like investing in them and their dreams is me planting seeds into my own dream of being a full time author, writing services provider, a content creator, community curator, and all of the things that I want to do. Because, baby, I've got even bigger dreams than that. Being a part of their memberships, I get back so much more than a chicken dinner that feeds my body for a week. I get back information. And when I apply that information, well, that's going to allow for the resources that will keep all those chicken dinners and whatever else I want to eat to keep flowing my way, no matter the economic conditions. In other words, what I get back in terms of fueling my dreams is priceless in comparison to what I give. Part 4: The secret formula to generating that intangible value so that I can grow my own community. So, how do I create a community that feels like they get back so much more in comparison to whatever they give to subscribe? Honestly, I don't know. Maybe that subheadline is misleading because I haven't discovered that secret formula. But I can promise you this: the minute I figure it out, I'm probably going to put it in a course and sell it. Even though I don't have a nice little neat answer to that question, it is still worth asking and continuously exploring. I'm genuinely curious to understand how I got to this place because I consider myself a person who's impervious to traditional advertising. I know the secrets of direct response copywriting. I've been studying it and practicing it since 2009. I know all the little Jedi mind tricks, but let me tell you something. My defenses are down when people are genuine. And maybe that right there is the secret formula to creating an experience that generates this kind of loyalty. Be myself, be genuine, be authentic. As I continue to create content, grow awareness of my content, and develop a community, I can only hope that the community that develops around my brand is as genuine and fiercely supportive, even in the hard economic times, as the communities that have inspired my loyalty. I do believe that there are people we're called to, and simply by shining your light, they will be drawn to us. Now, I'm not unrealistic. People come in and out of our lives for a time and a season, and this will, of course, apply to any audience that we may cultivate. As we grow on our journeys as creators and through our career, we'll attract different types of people at different points. I think the most important thing for me is to give the best of myself in every phase of my growth and development. Like Anita Baker, I'll be giving you the best that I got, baby. Okay, that's my best Auntie Nita impression. Okay, because nobody's got tone like Anita Baker, honey. Yes. Some people are destined to ride with us for our entire journey. Some might become longtime supporters. Others might only pass through our community briefly. Along the way, I just hope that I can develop that hardcore group of people that subscribe and stay for as long as they need to, and that they find that while they're there in my community, it's an essential lifeline to them. It's giving them energy, motivation, and that they feel their subscription is as an essential line item in their budget as their food because I'm helping to feed their soul. God help me to do that. Now, I'm not going to lie. I hope I have a good solid core of those who are so dedicated that they sell out my merch within hours of a drop. Like I'm Queen Bee or something. I wouldn't mind having a few who are willing to camp outside a store all night long just to be the first in line to buy my logoed $29 glass drinkware. I might think that they're a little cray cray, but for sure, I will appreciate them. But by all means, if there really is a secret formula to generating that intangible value that you're privy to, please and by all means, send me a DM on LinkedIn and let's make that course together. We'll split the profits. Bestie, thanks for chatting it up with me in this episode. I didn't want to make it as long as episode 7. So I'm just going to cut off my thoughts here. But I'm thinking that I might come back to this topic and I just might bring a guest. We'll see. If I do, what questions would you like me to ask? Because I do have someone in mind that I'd like to talk to. Right now, their whole business model is helping other people grow their subscription communities. So I need to reach out to them and see if they'd be willing to talk to me about this. What questions would you want me to ask them? Please drop them in the comments or send me a DM on LinkedIn. And be sure that you give this episode a like or a heart, depending on the platform you're experiencing this podcast on. If you like getting encouragement and gentle nudges to write your book, then I invite you to join my email list. Every Monday morning around 5 a.m. Eastern, I share a simple, encouraging message related to writing books, building your brand, and growing your income. I include links to supporting articles, videos, and audio content that I've published that previous week on various platforms. To join my email list, simply visit writingwithdeniserenee.com, scroll to the bottom of the homepage, and enter your email address. Thanks so much for subscribing to this podcast on the platform you're experiencing it on. Share it with someone you think would be interested, and I'll be back for another chat in the next episode.